Hey dudes, and welcome back to the Bants. As always, I am your host, the Bants, and it is once again Monday, so it is time for our first What's Happening in Fashion for the week, so let's just get right into it. And first up, of course, we have our art stories for the day, and in our first art story of the day, Juxtapose sat down with artist Edie Fake to talk a little bit about his history and some of his ideologies and things like that. Plus, if you want to check out some of his art, which is fantastic if you're a pattern lover, I highly recommend giving this a read. Then Friedrich Kunath showed off some of his newest works, and these are just great as well. Whether you're a fan of abstract work or even landscape work with a little bit of added either vibrancy or detail, either way I highly recommend checking this out. And lastly, Dabsmyla showed off some photos from their recently wrapped gallery, and I just love their ideas here, both in paint forms and in interior design. If you are a fan of florals and especially floral patterns, I highly recommend giving this a look as well. Alright, and now moving into our fashion section for the day. First up, brand 18 East showed off their first ever collection, and I think they did a wonderful job here. This is once again the debut collection for the new brand helmed by Antonio Ciongoli, who was the former head designer at Italian contemporary label Outta. And what we see in this lookbook here are some common and classic menswear styles, although in this case very heavily influenced by Indian aesthetics, such as by different fabrics or even by some handcrafted details. And let me just reiterate once again, this collection is amazingly well done. These tried and true concepts, which are already very high quality on their own, are only just amplified into something special with the addition of these new concepts. And the fact that the majority of the pieces here are also ethically produced in India is also just fantastic. And as if all of that already wasn't enough, I also just have to point out how insane the prices on this collection are. I mean, excluding some of the more expensive pieces, let's take a look at the rest of the collection, shall we? I mean, they have the embroidered t-shirt that's only $65, and this is a hand embroidered t-shirt. And then moving on into the button-up shirts, nothing here, even for as nice as they all are, is over $100. And then there's the Sahasika jacket, which is probably by far my favorite piece in this collection, which is only $175, and that's just crazy. I can only assume that somewhere out there, Hiroki Nakamura is starting to sweat a little bit out of fear. But all in all, just want to say once again, a great collection, and really am interested and excited to see what they come out with next. Then up next, we had the newest Moncler Genius collaboration, this time the Grenoble collection, and I thought it was pretty good. Starting us off, there is just an absurd amount of maximalism in this lookbook. I mean, through the use of different fabrics and colors and patterns and styles and so on. And even within these color capsules, so to speak, the specific fits or pieces that are more kind of segregated to one another based on their color schemes, even then there's still a wide amount of variety there. And even for as crazy as everything is in this collection, it still all works together very stylistically. I mean, nothing ever feels too over maximalized or too oversaturated with color. And I do have to point out that it is also by far one of the most wearable collections to come out of the Moncler Genius collaboration so far, and it does so while still remaining interesting as opposed to some of the other more wearable collections to come out of these collaborations. So all in all, whether you're a fan of maximalism or color or even just Moncler, I highly recommend checking this out. Then designer Kinoris showed off his fall-winter 2018 collection, and all I can really say is this is just super solid. what at first might seem like a very simple and basic collection more than makes up for it in its many smaller details. And I'm not talking about anything fancy per se, no technical zippers or hand embroideries here, more so the tiny details that come in just the construction of these pieces. Kind of in a somewhat similar way to a story MFG, if you will. What we see here is a bunch of high quality pieces that almost come in as many high quality fabrics as they do colors. And believe me, that's really saying something. We're seeing many different uses of cashmere and hemp and brush twills and corduroy, and even many different forms of cotton and linen and wool, all wound up into some simple yet still bold monochromatic pieces. And to top it all off, once again, everything here is made completely in California, so really, what more could you ask for? So a really excellent showing by Evan here, and I really hope he keeps going with this because honestly, it's just fantastic. And lastly, let's take a quick look at the first menswear collection, the Fall/Winter 2018 collection from the brand The Row. So The Row, for those of you who didn't know, is the brand by former child Hollywood stars Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, who have been doing this for years now, but exclusively in women's wear. So now they've finally expanded to menswear, and how does the first collection look? Well, unfortunately, it's a little bit on the basic side. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, this is their first showing after all, and the pieces do look nice, and I'm sure the quality's there, and it cost how much? Alright, so get this. Their wool coat, $4,200. Their cashmere sweater, $1,700. And their t-shirts, their fucking t-shirts are $350. $350 for a fucking t-shirt. I mean, sure, you might be able to get away with the cashmere sweater. I mean, yes, it is 100% cashmere and it is made in Italy, so maybe you can justify that price point. But a 100% cotton t-shirt from questionable origins. Yes, they say the sweater is made in Italy, but they don't say where the t-shirt's made from. You expect me to pay $350 for that? You can get the fuck out of here. Really, I don't know what they were thinking. Yes, The Row might have a history in women's wear, and Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen might have a little bit of a name among those women's wear too, but it's definitely not translating enough over into menswear to justify this. So yeah, that's going to be a hard pass from me. Alright, and finally, let's move on into our articles for the day. And first up, Highsnobiety put out their list of what they consider to be their favorite vintage and secondhand stores in London, so if you're interested in checking that out, I highly recommend reading this. Then Heddles did a very nice history of this time on the fabric Venitle, so whether you're a fan of history of fashion or fabrics, I highly recommend checking this out. And lastly, Fashionista put out a nice little article kind of overviewing what a lot of up-and-coming brands such as Martine Rose and Y Project and Ambush feel is key to their success in upcoming generations of fashion. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I highly recommend checking out this article as well. And with that, guys, we reached the end of our first What's Happening in Fashion for the week. I hope you guys have all enjoyed, and if you want to read any of the articles I talked about today or check out any of the images from lookbooks I wasn't able to include, I've linked everything in the description down below. And thank you guys as always for watching my videos and supporting my content. I hope you all have a great rest of the week ahead of you, and as always, until next time.